right, Evie. Why are you looking at the couch? That's weird. I am back with another Destiny 2 video. This one is definitely a few days late. It is about Onslaught and Into the Light, what was revealed on Tuesday, but in the interim, there was a big Bungie expose thing that happened. There was a mystery email sent to Aztecross, and those seem more interesting to cover. And then I wrote some articles about Into the Lights besides that. But I do want to talk about on video what was revealed in the first of 3 live streams, which I am very curious about this having 3 live streams. At its core, Into the Lights Onslaught is a horde mode, which sounds cool in many ways, which I will get into. But week 2 is supposed to be about weapons that you earn in it and a new social space, which I'm assuming is the Tower, which is an old social space. That would be interesting. And I don't have any idea what the third stream would be about, as I'm not sure what there is left to talk about, but maybe there's something they're kind of leaving on the table here that they're hiding. I'm not sure. But what we do know is a lot of fundamentals about the activity itself. In many ways, this seems like something that players have been asking for literally for 10 years. There have been sort of variants of horde modes in Destiny history, like something like Escalation Protocol, or the infinite enemies flooding out of little domes and altars of sorrow. Like, those are kind of forms of horde mode, but this is more of a true horde mode where you're in a spot, you have to defend a spot, you build defenses, you got to keep enemies away from the spot. That is more of a traditional horde mode, and also one with a bunch of waves. It is not infinite, which I've heard some people complaining about. But, 50 waves is a lot, and I don't know if we necessarily need more than that. And I sort of get what they're doing with that, where they have the breaks in between at different segments and bosses and things, and why maybe that couldn't just go on forever. The idea here is something that I swear I've heard before. Maybe I even said this before, but putting a horde mode inside a Crucible map, which is what they're doing here. I think they said there's 3 Crucible maps where they're doing this, but they only showed off one, which is Midtown, and they kind of carved out a little section in the middle and threw in some pyramid architecture, and that's where you will defend a point. Although in harder modes, the point does move around the map, so there are going to be, I think, 3 of those spots that you kind of jump between and defend. The idea is that you're fighting either Fallen or Hive, and in defending these points, there's kind of 2 components to it. Well, kind of 3. The first one is just you're shooting enemies, you're using your skills, you're just trying to kill everything, but you have some added bonus helpers in the form of defenses. There only seem to be like 3 defenses. I think there's trip mines, there's turrets, and then there's decoys. Decoys seem like they're probably not going to be used very much based on what I saw in the preview there with our good friend Noah kicking ass for an hour in the mode. I love Noah. Noah's the best part of that showcase. And the rest of it is, you're kind of going through these waves. You're getting, at some point, you're getting champions in at least the harder modes. And then I think every 10 levels or so, there's one part you kind of like run a spark down a hallway, but then there's other instances where there are bosses without health gates, but have some sort of mechanic in them that is unique to help you take down the boss or like do more damage to their health or something, but without straight up immunity gates, which is good. And the idea is there's a ritual playlist version of this, which is 10 waves long, which does not seem like it's going to take that long. The longer version is 50 waves, with it supposedly getting very hard by the end. I think they got to wave 40 or 30 or something during the showcase. This seems like, just based on timing alone, that could take well over an hour to do a full run of that. They said that it would get so hard by the end they think it's impossible for someone to just solo it. I'm sure someone will, because this is Destiny, and every time they say something is impossible, someone ends up doing it. Esoteric, maybe. And you kind of grind out all these kills. You get currency to upgrade your defenses. I think they go up to level 3. I think that's what they said. And then at the same time, you are defending a point where you kill enemies and throw batteries at this thing to sort of restore its health if it's getting damaged. This reminds me of that one public event in the Dreaming City where that thing can get damaged and you throw balls at it to heal it. It's pretty much the same thing. And as we know, all of us we know right now is that's sort of the activity. I think a horde mode is a great idea. I am wondering what 50 waves is going to feel like. My concern with that is that possibly the first 10, 20, 30 waves are going to feel sort of perfunctory, where it's going to be easy enough where it just sort of feels like a time waster of 20, 30 minutes before you get really to the harder stuff. It's kind of a balance, because if it was too few waves, people would complain about that. And if it started too hard, people would complain about that. But I do wonder about a lot of kind of time padding that may not feel particularly great there. I am curious about the rewards. It seems like in some sentences, like these are going to be cool, but also, as someone noted, like this is the 7th version of Hung Jury or something like that that's coming back that we saw. And we do have really classic weapons like Midnight Coup coming back. The fact that they showed Midnight Coup as actual Midnight Coup implies that we are getting things like Blast Furnace, which was shown, the idea of the old Pinnacle weapons, Recluse, Luna's Howl, Not Forgotten, I think Mountaintop coming back, these ones that are sunset. Those ones in particular sort of are the reason sunsetting existed in the first place. I don't know how that's going to go. Like, I forget what Midnight Coup had, but it had like kinetic tremors or something on it. Like, the ones that are random rolled, I can kind of understand why that would be interesting to get kind of new rolls on those old weapons. But I think nostalgia kind of comes from how good those felt at the time. Like the, Outlaw Rampage, Midnight Coup, or whatever it was. I think it was that. It felt best in slot back then. It was like one of the best feeling guns. Now it's probably nothing. And then I worry about the Pinnacle weapons. Like, once you start putting random rolls on Recluse or Not Forgotten or something, I think that kind of erases the point of them in the first place. Like, think about Breakneck coming back. Like, Breakneck used to be one of the most beloved auto rifles in the game, and then now it's a Gambit drop, and just no one talks about it. No one really cares about it. I even got some good rolls of it, but like, it doesn't matter. It's not the same anymore. So I don't know. I think it could still be fun. I just don't know about the idea of how appealing necessarily these old weapons are returning, because I think they've all been power creep to hell. And then if they have a bunch of new perks, they're not going to feel like the same weapons anyway. I don't know. They also just said that they said at first that they're going to have Destiny 1 inspired armor, and then they changed that to Destiny 2 concept inspired armor. So I don't know what that is. They showed some armor in the key art, which I thought looked like kind of OG Destiny 2 armor, but I don't know if they're talking about that or something else. That didn't seem very conceptual. We'll find out. I wrote today about how I think this activity is kind of meant to do something that they didn't really discuss, where it's a free activity. They're adding it to the ritual playlist for the easier version. Well, I think all the versions are in the ritual playlist, and that almost certainly necessitates it's going to be a permanent activity. And I think the idea here is that this can serve as a good onboarding activity for free-to-play new players. A horde mode is pretty basic to understand. Kill everything, a couple minor side objectives if you want, building defenses. Like, it's a lot more straightforward than I would say probably Dares of Eternity and like all these games with all these different mechanics in every game, and all these different things. And strikes, which are both really, really easy, and they have this like story content of people talking at you for missions that don't even exist anymore, and storylines that are content vaulted. So like I think this can serve as kind of a good new onboarding activity for new players. While simultaneously they've clearly done something with the difficulty to make it potentially engaging for veteran players if it gets really, really, really hard at top levels. So this does seem like kind of a really good idea to do something like this now. Well, maybe it should have been done a lot earlier, but the concept of this and what it can kind of do for the wider player community feels like something that is sort of well planned, well articulated. We will see how it plays in practice. It did look very fun. I wonder how much longevity it has if there's only 3 maps for it, and I do imagine if you're doing multiple 50 wave runs of something, that could be a little exhausting, whereas 10 might be a little too short and not really worth it. But again, we'll have to see how it feels in practice, and then what else they kind of have to talk about here. as there are two full more live streams to go, and there seems to be a lot more here than what we think. Overall, my impressions here are very positive. I think this was the right kind of content to make. I think they were right to finally listen to players and make just something that is about as close to a true horde mode as we're going to get here. And the rewards seem at least like they could be good. While I have some concerns, this seems like kind of it's filling a lot of gaps in a lot of different ways, not just the literal gap before the expansion, but the gap in terms of what free-to-play players have to do when they log on to the game, since there's no campaign anymore really. There's just these random ritual playlists and a random dungeon here and a random raid here. There was a free raid, right? I've lost track of what's free to play and what's not. And then theoretically, if it gets as hard as they say it's going to, this could be a top-end activity for hardcore players as well, and some of the best players in the game, if it really does get that hard, if you are trying to do like low man stuff or whatever. So yeah, impressions are positive. I have some potential concerns, but I think we have to wait for 2 more live streams to fully get a sense of it. I will cover the next 2 live streams hopefully sooner than what I did here, but those are just kind of my expanded thoughts on what we've seen so far. Let me know what you think in the comments. I'm curious what everyone makes of this, but it seems like the reception was generally positive. So anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you soon. Take care.